I think CEOs should really rethink how we have to hire and retain talent in this very different labor market that we are in today.
Carl J. Cox here, and we're doing $4 million strategy podcast. I'm here with Trey Taylor, author of CEO Does Only Three Things. Trey, today we're focused on hiring people. What is your best tips for our audience on hiring the best people for an organization?
Carl, you and I talk about this all the time in our free time, but I work with CEOs all the time to reposition the mindset around hiring. Hollywood for years has had the right model for hiring. It's called talent management. You wouldn't cast the wrong leading man in a blockbuster movie, and think that everything was just going to work out while you went and worked on something else. I run that in my companies, that I'm always doing talent management. So that means two things. Number one, I got to attract the right talent. How do I do that? I work on my culture in my business. I make that the attractive thing that people want to come into. I do that through a lot of different ways, but mostly by having it where everybody in the organization is able to share the value of the culture outside of the organization. It's not an internal conversation. So I make it an attractive place. Then I want to have the role really well defined. At no point do you see a $100 million Hollywood movie being made and somebody handed a microphone and say, just ad lib for the next 2 hours. We don't do that in our businesses either. If you're coming in to join one of my companies, you know what it takes to be a success in that business. You know what our conditions of satisfaction are. Very important to have that as specific as possible. And then once we get somebody on board, we want them to participate in writing their own job offer. And this sounds absolutely radical in some senses, but what we want is to understand from the person who's taking the role the things that'll be the most motivating to them. And so you look at a Hollywood movie and it may be, hey, I want $20 million to appear in the picture, but more likely it'll be, I want $15 million on the front end and 2 points on the back end or something of that nature. So we let people weigh in on what their bonus is, what their draw is, what their salary requirements are. Do they want tuition reimbursement, retirement, health insurance, benefits? All of that, we let somebody craft their own job offer. That's very unique. I hear that all the time, that not everybody does that, but I think it's a real superpower when you get your arms around that it acts as a retention tool when somebody comes in. And that's the third piece of it, is once you've hired the great person, then you really need to go out of your way to retain that person by showing appreciation for work well done to the person and to everybody who depends on that person. So we very often are in conversation with spouses and kids. I sent some notes last week to the kids of some of my key employees to say, hey, you don't know this, but your dad's incredible at his job, and you should know that, because I know he takes time away from the family to be with us, and I want to thank you for it. I want you to know that your dad's the best in the world about it. So we do little quirky things, a little bit off-center things like that to retain the talent once we've gone through the effort to get them. I think CEOs should really rethink how we have to hire and retain talent in this very different labor market that we are in today.
That note part you said is super powerful, Trey. I mean, doing something to their children, right? And them knowing that they're proud of their dad, right, working in something. Or perhaps it's to the spouse. Or I even heard situations beforehand of writing something, if they don't have kids yet, to their mom. Right. And exactly. And I love that, because it just transforms, right? It transforms that this is just not an ordinary company. This is a company that really cares about who I am, not just who I am, but my family. Powerful, powerful impact, Trey. I love the recommendation. Thank you so much for being on $4 Million Strategies.
Thanks, Carl. It's good to see you.